Hey friends, this is Marilyn from tarotclarity.com, and I do have several videos that I'm really looking forward to doing. While I was away on our vacation, I didn't have access really to Wi-Fi, and that's just when a few certain decks became available. So it was bad timing on my part, but I will be showcasing Yves Renaud's Vachier Tarot, which is now considered the earliest Tarot of Marseille style deck, created also in the city of Marseille. So I'm looking forward to presenting that when it arrives. I also am looking forward to receiving Marco Benedetti's Eliphas Levi, and I think I'm pronouncing it more or less correctly, a tarot deck based on his studies. And I also have another deck, which is a movie deck. A movie prop was actually used in a film, and I was able to get my hands on a copy. I don't think it's the only copy of a movie deck, because if you think of a movie and, you know, spontaneous laying of cards and stuff like that, it makes sense that there would be several decks used so that if they have to reshoot something, you know, they have another deck handy in the proper order, right? So I have one of those decks. So that's all to come. But for today, I thought I had to, how could I not? I live in New Jersey. Do a reading on these drones. Neither my husband nor I have gone outside looking for them. I don't look for trouble. You know, I really don't look for trouble. I'm aware that they're out there, though. My son, who lives less than 3 miles away, has seen several above his house. So they're in this area. Yeah, so it's kind of concerning because nobody is admitting that they know what they're about, who initiated it. And it's, you know, when there's a vacuum of information, what happens? Conspiracy theories, all kinds of ideas emerge from the populace, which is why I'm using the Rosenwald Tarot to assist me in the readings that I'll be doing on the drones, because it's one of the earliest popular culture tarot decks made for the mass market. Certainly by the 1500s, early 1500s, if not earlier. Okay, so my question, and I think I will do my signature spread on this, because I kind of want a lot of information. So I'll be doing my 9-card signature spread with the addition of 4 more cards to get the quintessential flavor of the reading, and just see what information we can get. And I'm not even going to ask for specific questions. I think what I'm doing is just seeing, when I go into my meditative place, I'll request that the universe reveal what we need to see regarding this activity. And, you know, hopefully we'll get information like who's behind it, what the intent is, like what's the reason for them. Now, as has been the case for a few of my readings, I no sooner like make the video and then release it, and then the issue has been found out and resolved. That's happened to me on a few occasions. Now, my track record isn't bad on those, but bear in mind at the time that I'm doing this, which is Sunday morning around 9 o'clock, by the time I upload this, the answers may or may not already have been forthcoming. So just keep that in mind. So let me go in my meditative place and connect with the cards and hopefully with the essence of the universe. To get information on what ideas or what points we may consider while looking at the problem of the Junes. Remember, when I read tarot cards, I'm not looking to foretell the future. You know, that's not what it's about for me. It's about getting information, being relayed information, seeing cards, and approaching them in a way to consider things that we might not have thought about, you know? Okay, so let me go to my meditative place and I'll be right back. Alrighty, friends, because this deck is one of the unusual card stocks by Marco, in more recent decks have been much more flexible. I'm not able to riffle shuffle this with any, I can't really riffle shuffle. So what I do with this deck is, or decks like it, where it's just too chunky or the paper stock is too thick, is that I overhand shuffle 78 times just to keep it connected to tarot in some way as a mystical number. And then I always do a few overhand for the camera so that you can trust that it's not a staged pull. Oh, as you know, I don't read reversals, so I just upright the card. I may pay a little extra attention. Okay, so the first card is Justice, and it would have been inverted, which I don't read inversions, but I might pay extra attention to a card if it appears, inverted. Although, truth be told, if the deck is accidentally inverted, every card would have been inverted so that it becomes a moot point. But Justice, being the first card, kind of suggests the government. It kind of suggests a government flair to it, or military, government or military. Let's see what other cards might suggest. A King of Swords. Okay, so definitely it has a military flair, doesn't it? Three of these, I imagine these are batons, excuse me, 3 batons. And I'm putting it to the left because I will have other quintessential cards to add. So another good reason for using this deck for this, for my signature spread is that the cards are petite. They're on the small side. Okay, we have the Hermit card. Falls right under Justice. Interesting. And we have 10 coins. At the center of this card will be at the center of the core 9, which suggests money. Money is involved, or money is a factor. Of course, these drones aren't cheap. There's quite a few of them, and they're large. They're not like little, Hobby Lobby kind of. I don't even know why I said Hobby Lobby because I don't know who they are. But they're not like hobbyists, kind of drones that are like, 2 feet big or something. So there's a lot of money invested in here. We have more pertaining to military strength, force. Here we have 10 of Swords. And we have a Page of Batons. 3 Cups. And 2 Cups. So missing is the suit of what? Oh, everything's present. We have coins, we have cups, we have batons, and we have swords. So all suits are represented. So there isn't, by process of elimination, one category we could eliminate. Let me go off camera to do the adding up of the cards and to put the quintessential cards to the side. Alrighty, so using the Rosenwald Tarot, I came across a dilemma because, of course, when We add up to get the quintessential cards for a particular row and then for the entire read. You may get a card that's already in play, right? So it may be necessary to pull the card from another deck. Now, I did have another Rosenwald deck. The other Rosenwald deck I have is by Sullivan Hismans over at Tarot Sheet Revival. And the difference between the two decks, one is that Marco put color to his, and the other one, Sullivan Hismans, is not just that it's in black and white, but it retains the numeric values on the cards. Now, when I was looking at Marco's cards, because he opted not to have numbers or sequential numbers on the cards, perhaps because for modern readers, it would allow them to assign their own numbers to the cards, because the earlier Italian cards had different sequences, depending on region. So when I saw this, and I saw it as, justice, and I saw it as 8, plus 3, I would get 11, which would, in my mind, bring me fortitude. As it turns out, the 11 in the Rosenwald deck is not fortitude. But the Wheel of Fortune. And it just happened to be good luck for me that the Justice card in the Rosenwald is also an 8. Now, I'm not sure why I pulled this from the second Rosenwald, because I don't think I have the Wheel of Fortune anywhere in play, so it must have just been a mistake on my part, thinking that I had already had it in play, but I didn't. And then we have the Hanged Man and 10 and 10, and I believe that brought me to 29, and then 29 minus 22 brings us 7, which in the case of the Rosenwald is the Chariot. Excuse me, it's the Temperance. It's not the Chariot. So it's a little complicated, but I guess it's okay to show you things that could be complicated and different ways that you can handle it. You would not have been at all incorrect to just apply your own numeric values and just, get another deck altogether. It didn't have to be another Rosenwald. I just happen to have a Rosenwald, which is what made my life complicated, because when I chose, this particular other copy, it has the numbers on it. So you may have, if you're ever in a situation like this, you'll have to make a decision. And whatever decision you make is okay, as long as you think it through and you feel as though you understand why you chose to do it your way. That's good, and even if it's just because I don't know what else to do, so I'm going to try this, that's valid too. Okay. But at any rate, and I may have, due to the complications and the fact that I'm not the sharpest memory person anymore, I may have gotten it wrong. So forgive me and don't dwell on it, because these are the cards that I perceive as a result of this reading. Okay, so the seventh card in this deck is Temperance. And then the quintessential card for this row is the Pope. And then for the entire read is the Fool. Oh, no, excuse me. It should have been the Magician. Let me grab it. Yeah, so here we have somebody conning or tricks. Now, when I think of the Bateleur, or the number 1 position of the tarot order, and it is, I believe, number 1 in the actual order of the Hismans deck. Everything is in secrecy. So the fact that this comes up as like a con job, or somebody who's pulling something sneaky, or somebody who's trying to get away with something, it's already on the plate as far as what a lot of us are thinking. It's obviously, and it's not even just that it's on the plate as a possibility, it's a fact that whoever is behind this is doing it without showing his hand or her hand. So that's the number one thing. The quintessential cards for each of these rows. We have the Wheel of Fortune, Temperance, and the Pope. So the Wheel of Fortune can suggest a few things in the context of this question. It could be just, stuff as usual. This is just, new day, same stuff, right? Could be something like that. It could show like a wheel that could be a disc, could be seen as a flying object in the sky, right? So it could go both ways and both ways at the same time. It could be a suggestion that this is something to get used to, or it's, we'll have to see what the rest of the cards in that row suggest how it got there. But those are the things the impressions that I'm getting. So then we have the Temperance card, which could suggest discretion, in the context of a question like this. Temperance is sort of compromising or making maybe something more palatable, right? So there's that. And then the Pope suggests people in high authority, people who might feel they're playing God or making the decisions for humanity. That would be the most extreme power play assignment that I could put there. If we were to downplay that, and so that it wasn't sounding like somebody was playing God, but it just could be that somebody's making moral decisions for the rest of us. And it all depends on what else we get out of these cards, but those are my impressions from just reading the Quint cards. Okay, now let's get to the meat of the potato. As I said when I first laid the 10 coins, the heart of the matter, the heart of the core read, is the only coin card on the table. And it's the whole enchilada. It's all 10 coins. So that tells me there's a lot of money behind this, either money that's doing it or money that it's after. But the core thing regarding this has to do with money. Then all their coins, so they're discs too. And there's a lot of them. So we could see it as discs, and then the Wheel of Fortune as discs, so that we're reminded of the word discs, or we're reminded of their physical nature, because maybe we shouldn't not notice their physical nature. Now these two cards, being the first two cards out, for me are verification cards of what it's about immediately. It's immediately about law and the military. So somebody working on behalf of the law or the military, or some piece of it or some faction of it. And then we do have another military card that suggests all in, right? We have 2 10s on this row, right? So that's kind of extreme. Money and perhaps force or energy, right? Money and energy. So a lot of resources are being expended. And you notice the hermit, or the wise one, is walking away from these two things, which is very interesting. And then with the bottom row, we have more of the emotions, which would be unstable emotions because they total 5. Now 2 is a good, solid, friendly number, and of the suit of cups, so it suggests, emotion, like a happy beginning kind of emotion of happiness after instability. Now the total of them is 5, which is unstable, but to be fair to them, we should read them as they appear. Now it could, and then this guy being in front of them, a minor player, could be someone in the government, but like a low rank, or somebody who's part of this enterprise but of a low rank. And it could be us, that we're perhaps there's some effort, if this is us in general, or, this low-ranking individual, whether it's a low-ranking person in the enterprise of this project, or just meaning us as the common folk. The authorities are trying to downplay the sense of emotional power we should give this. Now, the authorities aren't really giving us much information or anything. Nobody seems to know what these things are, but oftentimes you just look at area, 51, or I forget the number. But, look at top secret areas where, information is not shared, and then it gets to be so ridiculous and out of control, but they can't go back on, keeping it top secret. So then you have like aliens, in Area 51, and that whole aliens crash there. And, I'm not saying that at some point in history or whatever that aliens didn't crash someplace, but the point I'm trying to make is by not supplying the public with information we could probably process. They give us, we don't know anything. And then it just makes us crazy with speculation and conspiracy theories and, crazy ideas. So at any rate, what's my vibe here? Okay, my vibe here is that it was done by someone, military or on the government's behalf. Which government, I don't know, but, assuming that it's familiar, we'll say that. So people in positions of power are doing this. They're on the in. It may be managed to, on a need-to-know basis. And what we need to know is just keep calm because everything's okay. And that's like the information that's coming across. It's like, it's not foreign, it's not dangerous. It's, we don't know what it is, but like rest assured, So I don't know if they would tell us those things if it was not really something like as simple as we're testing out our drones and we're flying them around, I mean, we'd all say, oh, okay, that makes sense. There's Air Force bases around here, but instead they don't say that, like they didn't say that in Roswell, and okay, so then here we have power and money. So people who not only are in positions of authority, but they have power and money, or they have access to power and money. I think it's very interesting that the wise man, or the hermit card, walks away from the decisions being made there. It's kind of interesting if someone's going to try to wash his hands of it. And then we see the temperance flanks that row, so it almost reinforces like a washing of something, washing away of something, but that's just one way to see it. It could also just be that, sometimes, 9 is, if you consider this a 9, it's very close in rank to 10. And so it's, this row kind of suggests us, aside from wisdom walking away, it also suggests that something has been put into sequence, or something has been put into motion, because and a condition as we know it is now a thing of the past. It's the end of the year too, right? So we're seeing, and we have the cycle card up here. So it could, feel like, a cycle has ended and it's time for new stuff. And the new stuff is motivated by money and power. Now, the temperance card seems to be what is needed to keep this stuff in check, because maximum power, maximum wealth and maximum power, that's a dangerous combination, right? So I think this card is explaining that there needs to be a balance or a way to dilute the effects of this. And I think I've explained the whole read. I'm pretty sure I did. I hope it made sense to you guys. So, I think to put it in a nutshell, military, people in positions of authority, and people who have physical power, have might and also have physical wealth. It could be a change because we have this cyclical thing happening. So it may be the suggestion of life is about to change, like from what we know it. Ending with temperance. The only thing that makes sense to me in that position is the need to keep it tempered, literally. And then here, maybe some, it could suggest like a need to know basis, so the lowest common denominator or the lowest rank in the official dome doesn't probably even know what's going on, but he may be given the mouthpiece, or he or she could be the designated mouthpiece, but that person is so far low ranked that they don't really even know what the truth is. They just know what they're supposed to say, but to keep the emotions of the public to a minimum. And, I think here the idea is that there are people who are playing with or making decisions on behalf of many, but adhering to a strict dogma of their own. And then the Bateleur as the final card, enforcing or highly suggesting things that are going on behind the scenes, trickery, a con. So this is a very interesting read for the subject matter. I hope you enjoyed it. Until next time, friends, peace, stay well, be kind, and do no harm.